What's up, guys, and welcome to the Wise Guys Podcast, episode 17. We're bringing you some NFL content today. We're going to talk about the Jets and a couple of injuries going on down there. We're going to predict our QB competition winners from this training camp. We're going to also talk about the changes coming to Thanksgiving football, and we're going to get into our tight end rankings, our top 10 in the NFL today, and we're going to end it with a little bit of a 2-minute drill. We'll see what Brandon and John Tortorelli have for you guys today. Well, let's get going. Let's talk about the Jets.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of Jet fans. I'm from Jersey, and when Mehki Becton went down with a knee injury last week, they're down, they're gloomy. Then the Jets pick up Dwayne Brown. They're like, okay, we get one of the better tackles in the league. That's a veteran. He wanted to come to the Jets. You can feel a tension or a tide shifting in New York, where Robert Saleh is starting to build this culture. Joe Douglas in the draft has just continued to make really solid picks. The Becton one, he's been injured the last 2 years, so we really can't see what he's going to become. But overall, he's done one hell of a job relative to the past regimes. Then Zach Wilson goes down in the preseason. And with NFL fans, most of us are not medical experts. And so when they see a knee injury, they see a guy maybe tweak it, land a certain way when trying to make a jump cut, or just any type of move and a change of direction, they think, oh, it's torn ACL. And surely that's what all of them thought when Zach Wilson went down on a outside run in the preseason trying to get some extra yardage, didn't slide. And at the time, I said to myself, the dude's questionable to return. I didn't think he was actually going to be out for the entire season with a torn ACL. Not to mention, I do watch Brian Suter on YouTube, and he said, this may not be, it could be a bone bruise for all we know. The results come back after the MRI the following day. It's a bone bruise and a torn meniscus, and while he's going to need to get arthroscopic knee surgery, which is what Mehki Becton had last year, to put a camera inside your knee, that's not great. Zach Wilson's not also 360 pounds like Becton. He's only going to be missing 2 to 4 weeks. And for Jet fans, that's perfect. You get him back likely for week 2, if not week 1. And more notably, you're going to have him for the next 17 weeks. But overall, it just feels like the Jets season has already gone off to a really bad start. You just have one injury after another in the span of the same week. It's like, damn, it's kind of like the Ravens last season, though much less severe, where they lose J.K. Dobbins, Marcus Peters, then it's Gus Edwards, and finally, later on the season, Marlon Humphrey. It's like this dude, and eventually, obviously, Lamar Jackson after week 10, and what 10 was it, I think? Now, the Jets also don't have Super Bowl aspirations this year. It's the difference between those two teams. But you could also say this team could compete for 6-7 wins as well, and the fan base is just looking for some competitive football. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think?
Honestly, so there's this joke that I heard a long time ago about the Jets. The acronym for the Jets stands for just endure the suffering. And I'm not trying to make light on a couple of injuries, but it just feels like this is a franchise that can't catch a break. Fortunately, they did in their quarterback. Not it could have been way worse. It could have. I've heard reports of torn ACL, and it turns out it's just a bone bruise. There was a quote from Robert Saleh saying the ACL is supposed to be intact, and everybody's commenting on it like, well, we know it's supposed to be, but is it? Is it intact? And Jets fans freaking out. But they got lucky 2 to 4 weeks. Uh, at least they know they'll have Zach Wilson back. Now, losing Mehki Becton on the other side, that's a big blow. But overall, you want to see the development from your quarterback. So they have that. He's present. Now they just need to survive the preseason without any more major injuries. And it's really just fingers crossed. That's always the worst part about football this time of year. Especially, I'm a fantasy player. So every time that we draft, we like to wait until at least the last week of the preseason is over because these injuries just happen out of nowhere. It's you never know who's going to be available for you on week 1, and it's not just because of preseason games, but just in practice, these guys are getting season-ending injuries. So Jets really lucked out on this one, and I'm happy for it. Even though I'm rooting against the Jets this year, I'll never root for injuries, and I want to see what Zach Wilson has. He's a talented quarterback, and I want to see what he's going to bring to the table this year.
Yeah. Becton's out for the year, right?
Yeah, fractured his kneecap.
Okay. Um, yeah, they definitely dodged a bullet with Zach Wilson. He's only going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, so I guess the latest, like absolute latest, he could come back is probably week 3. You're looking at more likely a week 2 comeback. So that leaves the week 1 open, and guessing one of John's former quarterback rivals, Joe Flacco, is coming back to the starting fold to be the starter of the New York Jets.
Or
Or you said or?
could this potentially be a Jimmy Garoppolo team
No, no,
for two
no. That would
weeks?
be, that would be that would be stupid. That would be absolutely stupid. Um,
They have the history to do it.
yeah, but you're not gonna spend all that money to get Jimmy Garoppolo and
They play
trade for him.
Baltimore week 1. I wouldn't do that. You're not winning that game with Jimmy or without him. So
That
they
especially
play the
like if
Browns week
Wilson was
2.
out for the year, I guess. But I don't even think so that way because they don't really have Super Bowl aspirations, like you said. Um, yeah, in terms of the Jets, I mean, it's a blow. Losing Becton's a bigger blow, but still, I still see this season not being a very successful one. Um, I have to see if Zach Wilson's going to take the strides this year, learning the fundamentals of the quarterback position and not really trusting his arm as much as he used to. Uh, that was a big that's one of the major concerns with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes trusts his arm a little bit way too much. He gets out of himself. He plays a little overconfident. Um, it's all about learning the basic fundamentals of a quarterback, like being in the pocket. You know, it's all right if the old saying, live to fight another day, live to play another down. If it's not there, it's okay if you get throw the ball away or whatever. It's not the end of the day. Um, I mean, one good thing that I'm looking at right here for the Jets' first preseason game, it's not saying much. I don't know how many of the offensive linemen starters played, but if any, but they gave up 0 sacks. None of their quarterbacks got sacked. So I mean that's a plus. Um, yeah, I sucks for the Jets, but they're still going to be right where they're going to be at the end of the season anyway. And yeah,
Honestly, dude, you discussed him and how he may trust his arm too much, but I feel like his issues are more comparable to most young QBs, and that's anticipating and reading the defense quickly to officially make the throws. He struggled last year reading the defense and just hitting throws in the flat simply. Like running backs is doing a little out route, even like his little check down. He couldn't even hit that oftentimes. He was missing those throws. I feel like that's the thing he needs to really improve on the most in this season, being
yeah,
able
but
to.
that's also what I said. I said it was a two, it's trusting his arm, but also learning the fundamentals, which is what you're saying right there. Learning to read a defense and learning to take what the defense gives you, check it down. That's what Mahomes is just. We saw it last season. Towards the end of the season, Mahomes finally, instead of going big, like always looking for the big play, he finally decided he changed up his game a little bit and decided to play in the pocket and take what the defense gives you, methodically work your way down the field, shoot, take the clock off the board. That's almost like literally what Tom Brady and the New England Patriots did for like 20 years. Methodically work your way down the field, take the clock off the board, play smart, take what the defense gives you.
Yeah. Cheer the clock and throw to James White over and over again.
What was
If you're
that?
playing, cheer the clock and then throw to James White over and over again. Or if you're playing the Steelers defense, just like a croc and it'll be wide open.
I mean, I don't know. Listen, the Jets are going to be the Jets. I mean, they had a really great draft, but it's going to take a lot more than what they got in this draft to become a legitimate player in the NFL.
Well, they're heading in the right direction. Would you disagree with that?
No, I said no. I said that. Yeah, they had a great draft, but it's going to take a hell of a lot more. You know what I mean? For them to be a serious player.
I would love to see the impact that Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore are going to have this season. I feel like the Jets have always been looking for that wide receiver. You know what I mean? With Darnold, they never had a guy for him. This past year, they went out, they acquired Corey Davis. Corey Davis was, I wouldn't say he was a bad receiver. I'd say he was pretty decent. but had some problems staying on the field at the same time. I want to see this. I feel like the Jets have a very exciting young receiving core that they might shock a couple of people. And if Zach Wilson does take those next steps, man, I think the Jets might live up to their name and they might start flying, at least offensively.
I don't think there's much receiver depth, but there's a good amount of running back and tight end depth. I think Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzama, Conklin more so had a pretty good year last year, career season. And then Brees Hall, I think he's going to be the stud running back out of this year's draft. And there's a handful of guys there picked in the first 2 days, or the second day. No one's picked in the first round, but I think Hall is going to be that one back that just breaks out from the onset of the season, or at least later on in the year.
Well, you don't you see lack of receiver depth. I'm not talking more so about depth, but I'm talking about talent.
Well,
Like
that's what I was adding on to that.
yeah, they definitely have the talent there. And I mean, offensively, think about it. You mentioned guys like Brees Hall, and then Michael Carter was a pretty serviceable back last season. You add CJ Uzama, their rookie tight end Jeremy Rucker, who scored a touchdown in that preseason game. Maybe they run a couple two tight end sets, and
Evan Coleman.
yeah, and then you include Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis too there.
Let me hit you guys with a question, right? 'Cause I know it's going to be a little bit harder for you guys because you guys are, I mean, I like to look at things glass half full too, but you guys are like really optimistic. You guys don't like to call anybody busts or anything like that, except for John off camera. He likes to take his little shots off to Baker, but he won't say it on camera though. So history shows that the majority of the quarterbacks taken in the first round are not going to
succeed.
How do I want to say this? Produce in the NFL. They're going to be busts. If you want to put it in layman's terms, they're going to be busts. So in that draft class of last year, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields,
and Zach Wilson.
Those are the 5 in the first round. So history says that 2 of those guys are going to have a successful NFL career. 3 is pushing it. So tell me the 3 that you guys think are not going to have a successful NFL career, if you want to say it lightly for you guys, because I know you don't like calling people
I got
busts.
an opinion. Justin, you want to hit first or want me to go?
Oh, no, I want to hear you.
Man, we all look at physical traits of quarterbacks, and all 5 of these guys have them. But along with the traits, you must have the surrounding talent. While you develop the guys that help you grow, like a Dak Prescott, while he continued to grow as a passer his first year in Dallas, they had the perfect coaching, an amazing offensive line, terrific running game, and capable enough weapons. Lamar Jackson's an even greater example, where the offense was built around his skills as a runner. So while he was building off of what he can do he was a very rough passer to start off, but he could add on to that in time with the running style. When I look at Justin Fields in Chicago, he's the first one that comes to mind. He's in a terrible spot. Darnell Mooney to me is a high-end receiver number 2, but after that, you don't got an offensive line. Did you sign an offensive-oriented head coach? Matt Eberflus is far from that. So for me, that's the first one. Mac Jones, New England, I have a lot of faith in him just continuing to grow, especially when it comes to just being that cerebral quarterback that can pick apart defense. I think he's the perfect successor to Tom Brady. Trevor Lawrence last year got better and better as the year went on. Sure, he didn't put up impressive numbers. It was a pretty poor rookie season, but he had no talent around him. I look at Jacksonville and say, are they surrounding him with the pieces? Christian Kirk's not a receiver number 1. He's being paid like 1, but they have Travis Etienne. They have good running backs. I think he is the second one. And that leaves us with Trey Lance, and San Francisco is an amazing situation. And to me, I honestly think he's going to succeed as well, similar to Jalen Hurts, where he's in a perfect place where he can just be what he is as a runner, and he's continuing to build and improve as a passer as his first few years will go on. But he's also very raw. So I think for the 49ers, they have to do everything they can to make sure their team stays healthy. If Deebo and George Kittle are on the fields, I have a lot of faith and optimism in Trey Lance. But if they aren't, Trey Lance is not going to pan out. It's probably going to be a disappointment to me because he's going to need that surrounding talent early on. And that leads us to, last but not least, who was the 5th one I'm missing?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, yeah. Oh, man. He didn't break out in college until his third season. This offense line's improved. You have AVT, you bring in Lake and Tomlinson. Mekhi Becton's already down, but you bring in Dwayne Brown. Looking at the Jets' history, as much as I like Zach, I think he and Trey Lance, those are the two wild cards. If I had to pick one, I think Justin Fields would fail, or at least disappoint, where I think Justin Fields will stay in the NFL, but I just don't see him hitting the way those other guys will. Zach Wilson and Trey Lance, the two guys for me, they're on the cusp. I think one of those guys will succeed, the other one won't. So I got three players.
All right. Justin, what do you think?
First off, you guys know how I feel about the 49ers. I'm a big believer in Trey Lance, and if the preseason game didn't show you that this guy's at least a little bit capable of something, uh, I think the 49ers will be just fine with Trey Lance under center. Yeah, there'll be growing pains, but when you talk, John started it perfectly by saying, it's what you surround your quarterback with. And he's probably in the best situation of them all outside of Mac Jones in New England. I look at the 49ers, I see the Shanahans, I see that offense, and it's perfectly fit for a player like him to succeed. And you have Deebo Samuel, you have Ayuk, you have Elijah Mitchell, you have George Kittle as that security blanket. And that's one big security blanket. We'll get to tight ends later. But I think Trey Lance is going to be going to succeed. I'm with you on Justin Fields. I'm not much of a fan, and it's sad because it's not really on him, but it's also what's surrounding him. Trevor Lawrence, I'm a big Jaguars guy. You already know. I'm predicting a big season out of them. Well, a big season in terms of improvement. Zach Wilson is a tough one, but he has all the talent. He has the arm talent. All the comments that come out from him in camp. I mean, John was blown away when he got to see Zach Wilson in person at camp. If he gets better, if he's smarter, that's really it. It's just him being more decisive. I feel like he'd be a much better quarterback and he'd be primed to succeed. I think the Jets are putting pieces around him to succeed. I don't think they're failing in that part. So it's really just a matter of him taking those next steps. I believe we can get 4 very successful quarterbacks out of that draft. I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to be a superstar. I think Trey Lance is going to be a dog. Mac Jones is going to potentially be fighting for Super Bowls with New England. Now it's up to Zach. I don't have much faith in the Bears, so unfortunately I'm going to leave Justin Fields out of this one.
Yeah. So I mean, I think 4 quarterbacks that would have a successful NFL career. I would have to double check in the NFL history. I don't think that's ever happened in one draft.
Ben's class.
Ben's class?
Ben, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Matt Schaub in the 3rd round too.
He had a couple of good years. I don't know.
I'm just throwing in a 4th that was a starter.
I get. I mean, but if you were going to tell me, Zach Wilson's going to have a Matt Schaub career, I'm going to tell you that's not successful, especially for a 1st round pick. For Schaub in the 3rd round is successful.
He made a Pro Bowl. I'm just saying he's relevant.
I understand he made a Pro Bowl, but okay, listen, whatever. For me, it's Trevor Lawrence. I'm a huge believer in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I wanted my New England Patriots to tank that season and start Jarrett Stidham instead of signing Cam Newton for us to get the 1st overall pick. So I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be like Justin said, a superstar in this league. Mac Jones, I think, is going to be very good, borderline great. Don't see it in Justin Fields, and I know John doesn't like it when I use the colleges against them, but sorry. Name me an Ohio State quarterback that was successful in the last decade, and you won't find me one. And like you guys said, the situation he's in, it's Chicago. It's just, yeah. 49ers with Trey Lance, I don't see it. I think he's going to be – I think he has raw talent. There's no denying that. I don't think I think he's going to be too wild with it. I don't think he's going to learn how to. I think his quarterback play is gonna be very rudimentary. Like it's gonna be very low. I don't see it. I think he's so much of a project. I just don't. I don't see it, even with the talent around him. And I think it's going to be even more glaring his fail if he fails because of the talent around him. I don't think anybody's going to be able. Like if he fails, I don't think anybody's going to be able to say, "Oh, Trey Lance, excuse." No, no, no. There's no excuse. You've got everything you need around you to succeed, Trey Lance. And then finally with Zach Wilson, I think he's the wild card for me. He could be either boom or bust. Um, if you hold my head to the fire, I would say he's probably going to bust.
All right. Question on Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
The worry of him being a project. I don't understand why it's such a big concern because the 49ers are probably the most patient organization right now. They're not in a rush to start him.
He's starting this year. What do you mean?
He's starting this year because now they believe it. But they were more
That's
than
rushed.
into the year with Garoppolo.
I think people are concerned because in the last 4 years, Trey Lance has started one season. And last year, he wasn't good or impressive enough to beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. And quite honestly, if it weren't for a surgery that took Jimmy Garoppolo out for most of the offseason, I think there would be a much better chance the 49ers would have thought about keeping Jimmy. Not to mention, they trade up to the third overall pick to get this guy in Trey Lance. So if he's a project and you don't zoom up the first 2 years after you invested a boatload of capital to get him, there is a lot of concern there. You don't trade up for a guy of that caliber at the quarterback position when you're a quarterback away and then you don't play him for a few years. You got to get him out there at some point. And the question is he ready now to bring a team that has Super Bowl aspirations? They're not just thinking about making the playoffs, they're thinking about winning the Super Bowl. To then take that team over the hump relative to a guy in Jimmy who you think is more than capable.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. Call me crazy, so this might be a hot take. I'm not saying the kid's gonna be an MVP, but he's gonna have a Lamar Jackson type impact on this offense this season.
This season? Because
This
Lamar
season,
didn't.
I, I'm,
Still,
I'm I think he's gonna shock a lot of people. I think the 49ers are in a good spot with him. I'm not saying they're gonna win the Super Bowl right now, but I think the kid's gonna surprise you guys.
here's the thing. I'm gonna say that he's gonna. I'm gonna go on record right now and say that he's the reason throughout the season why they lose more than they win.
There's a big difference between the Missouri Valley Conference and the NFC West to me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this dude hasn't been impressive enough to frankly give this organization enough confidence to think like Lamar Jackson put in so much work to become an MVP in his second season as a passer, and then he completely took off as a runner. So I'm not ready to go there. Maybe in Trey Lance's second season, but it took a lot of growing pains for Lamar early on, and Trey Lance doesn't have the experience to come in and just be a breathtaking young quarterback. I think we've seen that in his limited amount of time.
So it's fun. It's funny you say that, but the little bit that we've seen out of Trey Lance, let's compare it to another quarterback that is a project that plays in Green Bay and Jordan Love. Jordan Love had more experience than Trey Lance, and who looks like the better quarterback?
That's not fair because that Jordan Love game against the Chiefs, his special teams sold out, number one. Number two, he had no weapons at all
Every
outside
time that
Devontae
we've seen
Adams and had no
Jordan
practice
Love,
with him.
every time, from
But the
preseason to regular season to just the other day, who
I
looks like
think
the better quarterback?
I think because of Trey Lance's mobility, him.
I mean, for me, it's both of them are not. You know, neither of
The
them
other
are
have
going to be
been good.
lighting up a Christmas tree. To be honest with me, to be honest with you, I mean, I think the Packers are. I think the front office and coaching staff is seeing that they made a terrible mistake drafting Jordan Love in the first round. I think they're realizing that now. Um, and I, like I said, we're gonna have to wait and see. I think we're gonna find out this year though about Trey Lance. I think we're gonna really find out this year. I mean, he's got a hard schedule ahead of him, just in that division. Like John said, that alone, you're gonna be tested.
Yep,
And I'm telling you, I think he's going to be the reason that they lose, and not the reason that they win.
and I'm excited. I'm excited to prove you guys wrong.
You're not going to prove us wrong. He's
Well,
going to prove us wrong.
I'm excited.
You're not
I'm
going out on
excited.
the field, Justin.
I'm excited. Mentally, I'll be out there with it.
Justin thinks this is friggin' Madden, and he's got the controller playing Trey Lance.
Mentally, I'll be out there with him. But yo, he'll prove me right. I'll hang my hat on that.
Talking about QBs, though.
We were talking about quarterbacks, and earlier pre-show, John mentioned a couple of things about the Atlanta Falcons. So let's talk about our QB competition winners. Let's start with Atlanta.
Well, I think
Not
Marcus
Atlanta.
Mariota is going to win that job. But yesterday, Dennis Ritter was one of 2 rookie quarterbacks to throw a game-winning touchdown pass. We're talking about the second in a few minutes. Now, I think for most fans, you guys would probably agree with me. But look at Marcus Mariota and say whether or not this is the long-term option for the entire season. Long-term, he's not the let me reuse my words. He's not the long-term option, but whether or not he's a starter for the season, there's a good chance Marcus Mariota does not stay healthy for all 17 games. And at some point, Dennis Ritter, who's trying to make it a competition but is lagging behind, will get the chance to go into the field as a rookie and show what he's capable of. Yesterday, he went 10 of 22. But like I said before, he rolled down, had a pretty awesome touchdown pass on the run. And to me, he looked pretty solid in that play, but overall, I don't think he's ready to contribute day one. But if there's any team like we're talking about before, like with Trey Lance, if there's any team that Dennis Ritter can just come in and immediately step in and make an impact for, it is the Falcons. Get Kyle Pitts, Drake London, you just throw it up to those guys. There's so much size and versatility there that on both sides of the ball, you're going to have a mismatch no matter where you go. And I think with the way the Falcons are building and designing their offense with Arthur Smith, whatever young quarterback comes in there, they're going to stand out because of how easy they're going to make it for them.
Well, I'm with you on that. I'm with you that Marcus Mariota is probably going to start those. I think he's going to start the whole season.
It's not a competition to me.
Yeah, it's really
barring injury. Though.
Until injury
yeah,
comes.
unless Desmond really just lights up the show the rest of the way in the preseason, and it really makes them second guess. Like, wait a minute, do we actually have a chance to win with this guy? Like, takes me back to Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson. You know, like all of a sudden, Russ is the guy. He did more than enough in the preseason. You're like, you know what? What are we waiting for? If this guy's ready, just toss him in there. And we had a topic like that a couple weeks ago when we spoke about quarterbacks just going straight into it. If they're ready and they're getting a good grasp of the offense, then why not? But ultimately, Mariota's going to start that team. He's going to start for that team. I think Atlanta's going to be a fun team to watch with him under center. And then maybe Desmond Ritter will get his chance to shine at some point later in the year. But I think it's Mariota. Mariota has the bull by the horns.
He will by draft season.
Atlanta. I just want to formally apologize to Desmond Ritter. I was calling him Desmond Riddler last when we talked about the Falcons last episode. That's my apology.
John was calling him Dennis.
Yeah. You called him Dennis?
John, yeah.
Oh.
Did I actually say that?
Yeah, John called him Dennis. Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to.
Oh,
Desmond.
well, I'm apologizing for calling him Riddler. I thought it was Riddler. Riddler's a cooler name. You should change it. Just think about all the marketing behind that. You can make the money. It's just you can print money. Yeah, no, we talked about the NFC South very recently. So Atlanta, we talked about it. Mariota is going to start the season, I think. But like I said, I see Ritter getting in there as a starting quarterback this season. If not due to the pressure from the front office or just the coaching staff seeing Ritter outperform him in practice and whatnot. But also, I mean, we've seen it, Mariota gets hurt every season. He's never played a full season, so it's bound to happen. I guess another one we could talk about really quick because we've already talked about the NFC South, like I said, very recently.
Real quick.
Carolina. My boy Baker looked very well in the preseason game for his first drive. Had a nice long drive. I think it was 13 or 14 plays, about 6 minutes. Ended in a field goal. Delivered a nice ball to DJ Moore in stride, running I guess you would call it a slant, maybe a drag route, something like that in between that. And then he delivered a very beautiful deep ball to Robbie Anderson while getting hit. Robbie wasn't able to hold on to it because he got jarred by the safety coming in. But yeah, I think Baker looked very well. especially coming off the injury. I think he's the shoe-in for the starter. I don't think Darnold's even on his level. So yeah, let's go Baker.
Yeah, there's no way Darnold's winning that job, but I do think you guys are putting some disrespect in Darnold's name.
No, I'm not.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to hear this. By the way, did you
I
have
really
something to
don't
say
either.
about the Falcons before?
Yeah, Ritter yesterday was making a lot of throws in the move that his receivers were just dropping. And he was really impressive as a runner. He had 59 yards total on like 8 rushes. He looked pretty solid. If those receivers and Drake Line, those guys are catching passes in the NFL, I think I last week and compared him to Ryan Tannehill, but he's more athletic than Tannehill, though he was a former college receiver. I think his pro comp would be Dak Prescott if everything hits for Ritter. So I think more likely than not, the Falcons draft a quarterback next season. Would you guys agree? Where are the odds in that?
Did the Falcons draft a quarterback in the
Because they're
first
gonna
round
have a
next year?
top 4 or 5 pick.
No, no, no.
You don't
You
think
just
so?
took a guy in the third round. See what he's got at least.
I think they
Well,
will.
they will see what he has,
Yeah.
but if you're not a believer, then I mean, if his ceiling you believe is Dak Prescott,
He's a little bit less accurate though, and I think he's got a better arm than Dak.
I mean, but then again, you know what?
Better
Let me
arm
take
strength.
that. Then again, we've seen stupider things. I mean, the freaking Arizona Cardinals took Josh Rosen with what, a top 10 pick one year, and then
the next.
basically flaked him out and said, "Oh, never mind,
Oh,
we were wrong." And
exactly.
they took
That's
Kyler
why I'm
Murray the
saying.
next year. No, no, that's what I'm saying, John. Listen to the words come. I said, "Never mind." We've seen stupider things in the NFL from teams, so I could see Atlanta taking somebody in the first round.
When I
I've
said you
seen
guys are
dumber
putting
things.
disrespect on Sam Darnold's name, it's because Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen never had a chance to succeed in the NFL. Never.
No,
Sam
that
did
disagree.
last year. Sam did
No,
last
he
year.
didn't. He was
Ro-
hurt last year. His offensive coordinator got fired midseason. His running back got hurt. His
Whoa,
coach was in the
whoa,
hot
wait!
seat. He
Time
had no
out! Time
offensive
out!
line.
Time out! What did he just say? What did he just say, Justin? The
Darnold got
offensive
hurt
coordinator got fired, right? How much
midseason.
turnover has Baker gone through his entire career? But you like to slide that under the rug and say, "Oh wait, no, that's Baker's fault." Continue.
But Baker had an offensive line by the second, third season he was in Cleveland. Baker had weapons. Baker had healthy running backs for the most part.
But wait, John,
Baker had the coach of the year.
don't you say
Baker had a coach of
one
the
of the
year.
keys to your success? Don't you say one of the keys to a young quarterback's success? You say talent around them, and what's the other one?
Circumstances, situation.
Stability.
But the Browns in 2019 and 2020 are not the Browns of old. It's a new organization with a new regime, new coaching, and a new roster. The only thing that's the same is ownership, but ownership made a better decision in who was running their team and their
I'm pretty sure
roster.
the front office, when wanting to get rid of Baker, said that Baker was immature and stuff, and they wanted to get a more mature quarterback. And I think everybody here knows John's feelings on Deshaun Watson. So
Yeah,
that's a real
I'm not a
smart thing
fan
to
of
say.
a serial sex offender, but the point being they're just doing that for PR. They're trying to make the situation as
Well, that PR is
better
stupid because
looking
they
as
sound dumb
possible.
as hell.
Well, I mean, so is fully guaranteeing $230 million for Deshaun Watson. You got to do the best possible thing to make it look better. Andrew Berry and that entire organization has done a much better job over the last 5 years when they've had Baker, or last 4 years, than the team did the previous decade before him. So, I mean, Sam Darnold's put in a much worse situation than Baker, and you can't deny that. He had coaching changes, he had offensive coordinator changes, and he had no talent around him. No receivers, no weapons.
You know what's my thing, John? As much as we want to point at talent around the quarterback, and I'm with you. I tend to do that. I'll look at the talent around them and be like, well, he couldn't succeed with that. But at the same time, I just don't feel like Sam Darnold, I guess, has the IQ to be a very good quarterback. I don't
And
think
that's perfectly reasonable.
I just don't think he makes the smart throw. And I feel like I haven't seen that growth, whether it be his mechanics in the pocket. I remember after his rookie season, it was all right. Let's see if he can get used to playing in the pocket. Let's see his footwork. Let's see if he can start making those adjustments. And he had a decent second season, but still there was those concerns about his mechanics. He didn't fix them. In fact, he got worse. Uh, he's never completed a full season. I remember what didn't he have mono? I think in his second year. Every year he's been injured. It's he's just how are you going to grow if you're not on the field? You got to play the games too, man. You know. nine touchdowns and 11, 13 interceptions isn't going to cut it for me. And that's where I go back to his decisiveness. I don't think he's the quarterback that's going to make the smart play for you. So that's why I really don't think it's a competition out in Carolina, because at least Baker is more decisive. And while Baker may have some bonehead plays every now and then, it's nowhere near on the level of what Sam Darnold has showed us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I,
God forbid Sam Darnold plays against New England.
yeah, I don't, dude, there's no competition there for me. So next one I guess would be
Seattle, before I cap it off with the best one.
Seattle, yeah, Lock and Geno.
Your
I
boy
texted
look
John.
good, John.
I texted John and I said, would Seattle be considered a part of this, or is Lock already over Geno? And he texted back and he said all points signed to Geno starting, which surprised me. So I guess as a competition, it's probably the worst QB competition in the NFL, if we're going to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't. Either way, Seattle's not going to be a good team this year. So it's really just pick your poison, and I really have no say in it because it's just take the lesser of two evils, I guess.
It's an ugly one because either way, you had the worst starting quarterback, in my opinion. Geno has been in Seattle for 3 years now, so there's familiarity in their offense, and I'm kind of afraid Pete Carroll's trying to win. He just turned 70, so hey, like, I understand. But the Seahawks team, while there's a good amount of talent here, enough to talk yourself into saying, oh, we can be competitive, maybe we can push to be a wild card team, you really can't. But they've made improvements right after trading Russell Wilson to get a better offensive line, developing the tackle spots. They have good receivers. Now, will they regress or not produce at the same level without Russ? Sure, but they have running backs as well. Geno Smith may be the more proven veteran, but I just don't see starting him. You might as well just give Drew Lock what you have with these weapons. There's going to be weeks he has highs, there's going to be lows. I think the middle of it's going to give you a top 3 pick in the draft. So you're going to get a quarterback who may actually be your franchise guy, or B, a quarterback that's going to set you up to find your franchise quarterback through the draft. Either way, it's a win to me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think Drew Lock has to be given the starting job. I don't. Geno Smith isn't going to show you anything that we haven't seen from him already. Figure out, see what you have in Drew Lock, and like you said, worst case scenario, you get a top 3 pick. Best case scenario, Drew Lock is actually something special for you guys, because you've been saying for the longest he hasn't really had the opportunity, hasn't been given that fair shot.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the opportunity. You'll be getting the keys to an offense. You'll be a starter with some awesome talent on the outside. So this is as good a time as any for Drew Lock to show what he's worth. And this is a perfect time for Seattle to literally just be like, hey, we're playing with house money. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, and he was dicing up the Steelers' backups yesterday in the preseason game. He looked pretty solid.
Yeah.
Geno, I will say.
So yeah, because I'm about to hand it over to you, John, because I know you want to dive into you can have your little spiel on your Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll just say, I didn't catch a lot of preseason football, but I did see the clip of Kenny Pickett's game-winning touchdown throw. It was and I texted John about it, and I said it was a very nice throw, under pressure, outside of the numbers, delivered it on a rope. On a rope. Yeah, I was just impressed by that throw. So go ahead, John. Talk about your boys.
Bro, where's your towel,
terrible
man?
Towel?
Where's the terrible towel?
This is going to get kind of embarrassing. I'm not really waving this for preseason football, but let me tell you, yesterday the Steelers had a good day against the Seahawks when it came to their quarterback competition. Mitch Trubisky came in, was a super efficient, threw a touchdown pass in the first drive, came out of there. But let me tell you, man, as a Steeler fan, we always throw these titles around, but there's a level of pride that comes with it. And I just can't get Steelers Nation booing Mason Rudolph. He had embarrassing moments. He had bad moments in his de facto rookie year. And look, he's not a starting quarterback. He's at best an adequate backup. I get it. But the dude's a great teammate. He's a stand-up guy, and he's trying to help the Steelers win football games. And because we want to see Kenny Pickett, we're excited for the first round pick from the city. We're going to boo Mason Rudolph before he even steps in the field. And the moment Mason Rudolph gets a crappy snap from his center, they're already hammering boos down the guy like it's Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying to myself, no, this isn't a serial sex offender. This right here is a young quarterback who's not very good, and he's trying to fight to stay in the NFL. And Steeler fans are just raining him with boos. I'm saying, guys, like, he's trying to help us win football games and compete for this job. Mason Rudolph is probably not going to be on this roster, in my opinion, week one. I think if the Steelers can move him for a 6th or 7th round pick late day 3, they probably will, because in this last year's draft, along with Kenny Pickett, they took a guy on day 3 and Chris Olawadukin, and odds are it's a lot like the Joshua Dobbs pick. Mason's out of here. But Mason had a solid showing yesterday, hitting George Pickens up with a beautiful deep ball. He's a guy that can push the ball vertically, and he looked solid. But Kenny Pickett, man, he came in second half and was quick, decisive, and just surgical. He was making simple plays. He was not really making many downfield passes, but he did a very good job escaping pressure, evading the pocket when necessary, and he showed he wasn't going to play hero ball the way he did in college. Didn't try to do anything too crazy. And look, for a rookie coming first NFL game, he looked as good as they could possibly do. 13 of 15, over 100 yards, 3 rushes for 19. But let me tell you, man, that game-winning drive, Tyler Vaughn's catches that pass, ice in his veins, takes to the house of the game winner. This Steelers offense, I'm telling you guys, is set up perfectly for Kenny Pickett to thrive. What we saw yesterday were design runs for Kenny to roll out, throw in the move, and just get into his comfort zone. Matt Canada last year couldn't really do that stuff with Ben Roethlisberger because, hey, look, while he led the NFL in game-winning drives, he was maybe the most limited QB in the entire NFL. But with Kenny Pickett, you have youth. You have a young quarterback that at 24 is NFL ready. I think there's a very good chance he'll be our full-time starter after a bye week. He can throw on the move. He has a good arm. He can make the simple play. And he has mobility that teams covet enough to extend the play. When the pocket breaks down the way it often did for Pitt, he can give you a chance every single week to come back in the fourth quarter and just lead his team. He's good under pressure, and he does have a little bit of that X factor. He's not a guy where the moment's too big for him. He's a leader, and he's a winner. And like I said before, there's so much depth on this wide receiver, in this wide receiver room, and in this entire offense. If Kenny Pickett starts this year, he will be the miniature Mac Jones of this season, kind of like a neutered version, where he's going to come in and he has a good chance of winning Rookie of the Year. Because you look at George Pickens, the dude has a catch radius and concentration on his plays where it's so uncanny from a rookie. It only reminds me of Antonio Brown. And I'm not saying he's on that level as a route runner or pure separator, but George Pickens has a chance to be one of the 3 best receivers in this class, and maybe even the best. And the only reason to me why he wasn't a first round pick was just because of character concerns, and number 2, a torn ACL in the sophomore season. Now you add that with Deontay Johnson, who to me is A, the best number 2 receiver in the NFL, or B, a legitimate number 1 receiver, and Chase Claypool, who has some of the most impressive physical tools. Pat Freiermuth, we may or may not touch on a little bit, a touchdown machine. And Najee Harris, this Steelers offense is trending in the perfect direction, and Kenny Pickett is just the last piece that can put us over the top. And yesterday was just backing up my belief in the way the Steelers would use him and maximizing his skill set.
What was your take on Mitchell Trubisky yesterday?
He was quick. He looked a lot more confident and sure. And it was, like in Chicago, people blame a lot on Matt Nagy, but frankly, Mitch wasn't quick enough reading defenses, and he seemed to pick it up a little bit better against the Seahawks in the first drive. Now, I didn't learn anything new. I think he's improved after his 1 year learning it behind Josh Allen, gained some mental reps in Buffalo. Mitch will be the day 1 starter, but I think by week 4 to week 9, he will be holding the clipboard.
What has to happen for Mitchell Trubisky to lose his job? Because I feel like he's serviceable enough to hold down the fort.
Yeah, I think he's a top 25 quarterback. I think he's above. Yeah, I think he's replacement level.
Mhm.
And I think for the Steelers, they have a tougher schedule this season. So by our bye week, especially if we lose to the Jets week 4 at home, that's a must-win game. I think that's the turning point in our season. if we don't win that against Zach Wilson, there's a good chance it's because Mitch did not play well enough. When you have a top 10 coach and a top tier defense, you're going to be in every single football game. And the Steelers this year, when I called them a playoff lock, it was at large because they can win close. And so long as it's not a gunfight where we're just going toe to toe vertically, the Steelers can beat any team. Kansas City, we saw last year, they don't stand a chance off them. Buffalo, we actually did beat them. For Mitch Trubisky, the way he gets benched is if against those top tier teams, we are just woefully unequipped to throw down the field because he does not have the strongest arm of these three quarterbacks. It's to me Kenny and then Mason. So to answer your question, if he's getting thoroughly outplayed by more talented guys, from week 4 to week 9, like I said, that's when we're going to see a quarterback change, and it won't be for Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, you guys definitely do have a tough schedule to start. I'm looking at it right now. Week 1 against the Bengals, week 2 against New England, week 3 against Cleveland, week 4 against the Jets. Then you got the Bills, Bucks, Dolphins, Eagles, Saints. That's no pun intended, but no easy pickings for you guys over there.
Especially for offensive line. Yesterday, Chuck Secor for a sick pancake block when some defensive end tried to come too high and he just took the guy and shoved him to the ground. And Pickens, he had a pancake too. He's an insane blocker. He took this quarterback and shoved him on the ground. Get off of me. It was awesome. There, like I said before, there is a little bit more physicality there with the blocking with Pickens that I just love. He just represents AFC North football through and through. And Chase Claypool, as well as another big receiver that can block. So yeah, I mean, if Kenny Pickett comes in week 5 and has to go up against Josh Allen, then Tom Brady, followed by 2 legitimate playoff teams in Miami, Philadelphia, and the Saints, then the Bengals, then the Colts, maybe we won't see Kenny Pickett until week 13 when that schedule eases up against the Falcons. I mean, that is as tough as it gets.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly. I think I agree with John. I think Trubisky. I see Kenny Pickett getting becoming the starting quarterback by mid season. Definitely by the bye week. Their bye week is week 9. Yeah, I could see Pickett being the starting quarterback after week 9.
What do you guys think Kenny Pickett is relative to Mac Jones as Patriot fans?
Well, okay. Mac Jones walked in and he had the greatest coach of all time. Now, Mike Tomlin is definitely a fantastic coach. So I wouldn't say he's going to have a Mac Jones type rookie season, but uh, I guess that's something you caught me off guard with. I gotta put some more thought into that.
Because the pick reminds me so much of Mac Jones last year. You know, he doesn't have, let's be honest, if he were this top tier quarterback, there's a very good chance he would have been taken in the top 10 or some team would trade
Yeah.
up for him. His ceiling is limited to a certain degree. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 5 quarterback. But you're saying to yourself, if we can push all the chips in and go all on this guy and surround him, maybe he can reach that top 10 season level. So to me, that's what he reminds me of a little bit. Mac Jones and a little bit Baker Mayfield, actually.
You know, at the end of the day, I see this as a guy very easy to root for. A Pittsburgh dude. I think the Pittsburgh faithful is gonna love him a ton, and I think he's just gonna thrive in the environment because he's there. He's been there, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what your Steelers have to offer this year with him under center.
Pickett the
Mitch,
Pickens?
huh?
Pickett the Pickens, baby.
But yeah,
Pick.
I'm with you, man. I want to see Kenny take the starting job. It will happen eventually. Mitch is Mitch. I don't think we're going to see nothing different there. So Mitch will start the season. Kenny will take over towards the end. And I think Pittsburgh Steelers fans are going to have a lot to be optimistic about going into the next season.
I'll probably be buying his jersey too.
I could see that.
Yeah. 7 to 8, baby. You know the deal. Keeping it real.
Well, let's get into our next topic. Somebody want to talk about Thanksgiving football? I love Thanksgiving football, guys.
Unless the Lions are on.
No, I love it. That's why I became so my second favorite team is actually the Detroit Lions. I have a Lions hoodie, I have a Lions shirt, and it's all because of Megatron. Talk to me. Let's talk about Thanksgiving football because I'm eager to get into that.
So yeah, this is a topic that I brought up to John. It's something I feel pretty strongly about. I mean, this is Thanksgiving football. This is a tradition that goes back, I don't even know how many years, but decades and decades and decades and decades. I just look at it and I say, this is the day where probably you're going to have the most eyes on you besides like the playoffs and Super Bowl, right? And to put out a less than good product is just, to me, a failure for the business of the NFL. They control the schedule. They pick and choose, and they can choose who to put on Thanksgiving. And they also, we've seen multiple times throughout the season, they have the power to switch games that are in the same week. Like they'll take a game that's on Sunday at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and they'll put it to a Sunday night game because it's a more interesting game. We've seen that happen. I look at it and I say the perfect example of doing it right is the NBA on Christmas Day, because you get great games, and they usually put like the top, what is it, the top 4 or 6 playoff teams, I think, usually play against each other. I believe that's how they do it. And then somehow the Knicks kind of weasel their way in there every year too. That's just.
And they've made some great Christmas memories.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
For me, it's just like, I mean, so usually the first game of the day on Thanksgiving is the Detroit Lions, right? And it was cool, when they had Stafford and Megatron for those years. But also, it's just like, I don't want to see the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. I want to see the best of the best. Like, I want to see a Tom Brady versus an Aaron Rodgers matchup. I want to see a Mahomes on there. I want to see a Peyton Manning when he was playing. I want to see the great teams and the great quarterbacks play each other. Like, I just look at it just this year. Now, the week of Thanksgiving, there's not many great games, but I see 2 games right here: Chargers and Cardinals and Rams and Chiefs. Especially the Rams and Chiefs. Now, this is laughable. The Rams and Chiefs aren't even the Sunday night or Monday night game. They're at 4 o'clock.
I ain't it.
You get rid of the Giants and the Cowboys game. Put the Rams and the Chiefs on there. Get rid of the Lions. Stop with the tradition. I know they'll throw at me, oh, well, it's a tradition. We've done this for so long. We have to keep. Guess what? Traditions. You really want to look at the history of America and traditions? Because there are a lot of bad traditions that this country is known for that we've thrown in the garbage because they're just terrible. This is another one. Throw it out. I don't care if the Cowboys are good. Fine, have the Cowboys on there, but have them face a good team. They're playing the Giants this year on Thanksgiving. Who wants to watch that besides the Giants fans and Cowboys fans?
It's a rivalry, though.
Who cares? It's bad football.
You don't want to watch Danny Dimes?
No, I don't care about that. If you want to put the Cowboys versus the Cowboys play in the first 5 weeks, they play the Buccaneers, the Bengals, and the Rams. You telling me you can't take one of those games and put it on Thanksgiving? That'd be much more enticing for NFL fans to watch. I just say, and I'm like, why is the NFL continuously putting on less than good quality product on Thanksgiving Day? I don't want to be the first game before I eat my Thanksgiving dinner. The first half of football I have to watch is the frickin' Detroit Lions. I'm sick of it.
There is a changing of the guard. Maybe we'll get to see Dan Campbell buying a kneecap or 2.
What was that with Dan Campbell you mentioned?
It's being ridiculous. That's the point.
The Detroit Lions Buffalo Bills game. I'm actually pumped, man. Like I said, I love Thanksgiving football. Regardless of what's going on, I crave more football, and I know a lot of people don't like Thursday night football or Thursday football period, but I really don't see it as something we should be complaining about. We get 3 games on a Thanksgiving day. Where you start with your early meal, you get to watch some good football or decent football. And
I have to ask you a question, my man.
Listen, I think last year was the Lions versus the Bears. Am I right?
Yeah, probably per usual. I don't
might
watch
have
that.
been. I think so.
Okay,
No one's watching that.
it was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah. I mean,
That's fine. I get it.
Justin, you're telling me the Lions and Green Bay are literally rivals. You're talking about rivalries. Why the hell is Aaron Rodgers not playing on Thanksgiving every year then?
I totally get that. I totally get that. But I still believe the tradition of having the Lions and the Cowboys. I feel like that's kind of cool. But yeah, maybe you could pair them with a better matchup, somebody more entertaining. And I think the Lions are going to be an entertaining team this year. And then you pair them up, they're matching up with the Buffalo Bills. It should be a good show. You get to see Josh
But let me
Allen,
ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Well, no, I just have I have a question too for Justin.
Yeah, real quick, on Christmas Day, if you had to watch, let's say, two of the worst teams in the NBA face off for all 3 or 4 matches or 2 matches, opposed to getting to see Trae Young versus your Knicks, or even better,
but you're not seeing that.
But you did last year.
LeBron versus
Trae Young last
Kawhi
year.
Leonard.
Even better, Kevin Durant versus LeBron.
What
the
I'm
Warriors
saying is
versus the Celtics.
You're not seeing the worst teams go at it. I mean, aside from the Lions and the Bears, you look at the other 2 matchups.
Giants?
They're usually good.
No, they're not.
They're not. They're usually mid.
They really are.
We've seen Dallas versus Cam Newton and the Panthers. We've seen Dallas versus the Bills. We've seen Dallas versus the Chargers. And then the night game.
The Dallas versus the football team where Antonio Gibson's going off for 4 touchdowns because the Cowboys aren't trying on Thanksgiving. That's below mid. That was
1 year.
That's almost like 1 of every 3 years for the Cowboys.
I can pull out years. There was a year that freaking, I think CJ Beathard or whatever played starting quarterback for the
so you know what? Look, let me see the games. I could care less about the Lions one. Forget the top game. What are the next 2? What were the next 2 games for the last couple Thanksgiving?
Raiders, Cowboys, and Bills, Saints.
Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Saints. Bills, Saints is a show.
Last year.
No, Saints were not good because Jameis was injured by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is you can't control that.
Yes, you can. I just said that the NFL has done in the past. They have changed games around. They can make it where this game's not going to be enticing. I'm flipping that and putting you here.
Yeah, that's so messed up. Let me tell this family, hey guys, you're not gonna have your dad this Thanksgiving.
Oh, come on. LeBron James. I knew somebody was gonna throw this point out there. LeBron James for the last 15 years has not had a legit Christmas for him and his family. He's not complaining. It's your people work on Thanksgiving.
It's because they schedule
it's your job.
Pre-season. He knows he's playing on Christmas.
You're getting millions of dollars to provide for. So what if you have to have Thanksgiving the next day? Guess what? You can have $1 million Thanksgiving the next day. Is anybody going to complain? No.
Imagine doing that. You see your schedule going into the season and you're like this. Oh, that's awesome. I don't play on Thanksgiving. I'm playing on the Sunday. Oh, wait, 2 weeks later. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be in.
You're going to make it. You're just going to have to postpone it or something. It's fun. Dude, these guys are professional athletes. They're making millions and millions of dollars. They'll be fine.
Bro, the games haven't been poor. Bills Saints. That's an awesome.
They have.
Bills Saints.
Steelers Ravens. In 2020, we had Steelers Ravens. We didn't even get it because of COVID. That was the only exciting matchup, and we lost that one in the last 2-3 years.
All right, here was my question for Justin. Justin, you're telling me that if you took like the Bills and tell me the last so there's 3 games. Give me like the top 6 teams in the NFL. Pair them up against each other. So you're telling me you don't want to see the Rams and the Chiefs go at it, the Bills and the Bucks and the Bengals and
AFC North football, man. We got to see that.
And the Packers go at it, whatever. You don't want to see those matchups?
I get that. You do want to see those matchups. What I'm saying, the matchups that we've had weren't terrible. They just didn't live up.
Name me one exciting one.
Like you said, the Bills and the Saints. Saints had some injuries. They weren't the same team going into Thanksgiving. But Bills Cowboys, that happened a couple of years ago. That was slated to be a great game. But you know what happened? Cowboys didn't show up. Bills just beat the daylights out of them. That could happen to any one of these matchups. This last one. Are you guys happy about New England versus the Vikings?
That'll be a good game
That's
for
weird.
us.
There's no storyline there.
Yeah,
It's
there's
weird.
no
There
story,
is
but
no
I mean,
story.
it's a pretty,
There
it's
We
is
a
need
no
good game.
storyline. We need Steelers Ravens. We need Josh
Oh,
Allen versus New England or Josh Allen versus Tom Brady. We need something that's exciting. That's going to
storylines.
captivate
Yes,
well,
I
there we
agree,
go.
stories.
There
John.
we go.
That's
If
Storylines.
what
you
we
guys
need.
love storylines, we have a storyline. Giants, Cowboys.
That
No,
sucks.
that's a
Give me
That's a
Joe Burrow.
storyline.
That sucks. A good
that's a
storyline.
terrible
It's a
storyline.
storyline.
Give me Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. Give me something good. The Giants are one of the worst teams in football, and the Cowboys are barely a playoff team. That's not good.
Okay,
Justin, you
but
know what you're
still,
sounding like right now?
for
You know what you're sounding like right now? You're sounding like the executives at the DC universe saying, you know what? Here's Batman versus Superman for no freaking reason, but here you go. Watch it and enjoy it. No, here's a storyline. That's not the storyline I want.
you know what?
It's called building the. You're talking to a wrestling fan. I watch crap storyline on a weekly basis. I want good storylines, like John said. Good storylines like the NBA. LeBron versus the Golden State Warriors. LeBron versus KD. The Lakers versus the Clippers now.
KD
Memphis
versus
versus Golden
OKC.
State has been announced for this year. I love these storylines. Like I want that Philly versus Miami. There's a story there. Jimmy used to play for Philly. Like there's stories. Like I want storylines, man.
You're trying to make money at the end of the day. And to make money, you want to get your fans into it. That's why the Knicks are playing the Hawks. The NBA is trying to milk this little rivalry, which is not a thing because the Knicks
Justin,
suck.
when was the last time Tom Brady played on Thanksgiving?
Was it against was it
The Lions?
It's been like what, like 8 years?
Wasn't he against the Lions where they beat the tar out of them?
It was something. He ate the big freaking turkey leg at the end of the game. I think was the last time he played. You're telling me LeBron's played on Christmas every year for the past decade plus. Tom Brady's been basically the biggest star in the NFL for the past decade plus. How is he not played on Thanksgiving basically every year? This is a business at the end of the day, right?
No, I get it. But you know what? The NFL, regardless, they run Thanksgiving football, and we're still going to watch.
You sound like such a DC executive.
That's not true. I don't watch Lions. I don't watch Lions Bears. I don't watch the Lions get blown out by 30 points against the Buccaneers or this. It was Tom Brady, I think, that one year's 2020.
You watch it for like the first couple of drives, and then you realize what kind of game it's going to be, and then you just start talking to your family members while the game's on in the background. Nobody's paying attention.
When the Cowboys made Antonio Gibson look like Barry Sanders, you weren't watching that game. You weren't.
I'm tuned in, man.
That's not true.
And don't put the best game of the day at nighttime when everybody's got to get up for work the next morning. Like, what the hell is that? The family's gone. Everybody's tired as hell from eating Thanksgiving dinner and dessert. Why is the best game at night?
Now you got a storyline. You're gonna get to see the.
You realize the best Thanksgiving football moment is the butt fumble. That is the best one.
Amazing.
That's an issue.
Listen, Calvin Johnson
that was a blowout.
Put together some great ones for us, man.
That was a clearing, though. Your best Thanksgiving football moment was a game where the Patriots just beat the living hell out of the Jets.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Well, we do.
But, I mean, listen, guys, I get what you mean. You want your best matchups and all that. Sure. But these matchups this year, I don't think they're that bad. Bills-Lions should be fun. Lions are an excited team going into the year. Hard Knocks, they look fun. MCDC. Are you not pumped up to see what the Lions look like this year?
Would you rather Bills versus Buccaneers or Bills versus Lions?
Okay, yes, I get
that's
that.
That's what we're saying, Justin.
Would you rather?
I know that.
Would you rather Packers versus Bengals or Steelers versus Ravens or what's the other trash game they're throwing on? Cowboys, Falcons. Oh, Cowboys, Giants. There you go. Cowboys, Giants, or Steelers, Ravens.
Two great rivalries.
No, don't.
Don't
do that.
This ain't the 1970s, Justin.
Listen, like I said, I understand where you're coming from. Maybe I just am grateful that I get to watch some football on Thanksgiving. I could really care less. I just sit there and I watch and enjoy it. And plus, fantasy football wise, I love seeing 3 games a day, regardless of who it is, because I probably have a player in one of these games. And normally, I usually, even if they're on my bench, I'll throw them in the lineup just because I want to watch them on Thanksgiving, just for fun. So maybe for fantasy purposes, it makes me enjoy it a little bit more.
Just last point. I mean, there's no excuse to have you have the Rams and the Chiefs at 4 o'clock on Sunday. How is that not on Thanksgiving? That makes no sense to me. That could be a Super Bowl matchup this year, and that's at 4 o'clock on Sunday.
Well, I'm looking forward to 4:30, November 24th, to watch the Giants and the Cowboys put on a
Oh my
show
god!
in our living rooms.
Oh my god!
Never.
I'm messing with you guys now. Now I gotta tease you guys.
Might be one
But
of the worst performances.
you guys are like about to chew my head off, man.
You think Thanksgiving football is fine, doesn't need to be changed. We think it must
No,
be.
no, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be changed. Yes, for the sake of people like you guys enjoying the game, sure. But me, little old me, who just enjoys any bit of football that I can get, it doesn't bother me.
And see that is the root of the problem, though, Justin, is that's what the NFL thinks, is that they can just get away with it by putting content out there, and fans like all of us, we all are degenerates. We're gonna watch the football. It's gonna be on in the background at the very least. But that we shouldn't be fine with that. They shouldn't give us chicken, you know what, and we should just enjoy it. Like, no, we're fans. We are basically the reason you guys even have a business, because without us, you'd be playing football in front of nobody, and nobody would watch and nobody would care. So you need to treat us more better. And it's like, come on, give us better product.
At the end of the day, this is entertainment, and these
Yep.
teams are here to perform, perform, perform. And you're putting your worst franchises out there. Detroit.
Yep.
You think Detroit's one of the worst franchises. I think
100% it is.
Chicago might be even worse. The Giants are not a good franchise. They haven't been for a little bit. The Cowboys are very up and down. They're never consistent. When you throw, who are the other crappy teams? The Falcons. Those are all crappy franchises. Perform.
Like, could you imagine
Perform.
throughout the years that we had a Brady and Peyton rivalry? How the hell was Indy and New England not on Thanksgiving? Like, come on, man. These are open goals that I can come up with.
In the world of entertainment, you got to put the best product out there to get the best results.
Yeah.
You should.
I mean, not to stay on the topic for too long, because yeah. Well, the Lions may be the only team that are consistent face on Thanksgiving that you guys can remove, but the Cowboys draw a lot of attention every year. So I definitely understand why the NFL would want them there. I mean, I'm speaking aimlessly here, but I'm more than positive that the Cowboys probably draw the most viewers.
Oh yeah. Nope, they do.
But can we at least say Cowboys Eagles, not Cowboys Giants?
No, I get that, but
like we're pulling teeth here.
If it was Eli Manning's Giants, it's a different story, you know?
Well, a lot of those teams weren't very good either, so I wouldn't want to see that.
Well, at least the Giants were decent back then.
All right. Do better, NFL. Do better.
Looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm going to put my Lions hoodie on at 12:30, ready to go.
So now we got some tight end rankings?
Yes, sir. Let's talk about some tight ends.
Who wants to kick it off? I think I want to.
All right, John, then go ahead. Who wants to kick it off? I think I want to.
Well, one of you two want to start?
Just kick it off if you want to.
Brandon never wants to start these discussions.
No, I'm just saying, Justin. He asked the question and then literally said, "Never mind, I want to go." I was just making fun of that. John, go ahead, kick it off.
Thank you, my man.
You're welcome.
We talked about Pat Freiermuth before, and maybe to your surprise, he's not in my top 10. I do have him right outside on the cusp, though, with some names like Mike Gesicki, a very good receiving tight end, Dawson Knox, a great athlete with Josh Allen in Buffalo, David Njoku, another tight end that every year just seems to make these ridiculous plays. He's a playmaker, and I don't think he was worth the contract the Browns gave him, and that's going to shake up this tight end market when a lot of these guys have their turn to get paid. I also like to mention Noah Fant as well in Seattle. A new beginning for him, playing with not Russell Wilson, but Drew Lock. So we'll see how that goes for him. Starting off my list is a player that I've been waiting to break out for years, I feel like, since he was drafted in 2019. That is a guy that's often compared to Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson in Detroit. Last year, he was injured late in December. And I feel like with this Lions offense, it's dynamic. But man, like TJ Hawkinson is really the one player that to me, can be the one that takes him over the top. You add in Jameson Williams, who is a game-changing wide receiver prospect. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. DJ Chark downfield. There's so many vertical threats. And then you got TJ Hawkinson at tight end, a guy that was picked in the top 15 for a reason. He can make plays. He can be a touchdown machine. In the receiving game, I think he really can be a guy that's getting 900 plus yards, 60 catches. That is the one player that I think can rise up on this leaderboard. Then number 9, I have Hunter Henry, a guy you guys are familiar with in New England. Last year, Brand was talking about before, played his first full season. That means a lot because in San Diego and Los Angeles, he was very talented. Another player that could score touchdowns, was reliable, but part of being reliable is staying healthy, and he couldn't do that. And that's always been the one thing that's marred his perception around the league, that he can't play a full 16 to 17 game season. Now he does that. Scored 9 TDs last year, a career high for him. I really think Hunter Henry can climb a little bit higher, and we haven't seen his best football quite yet, still at just 27 years old. So I have Hunter Henry at number 9. Coming in right before him, still got Zach Ertz. He's not what he was in Philadelphia, and I think maybe after the season, he may not be in my top 10, just because I don't really trust Kyler Murray throwing the middle of the field. But Ertz has consistently produced, and last year in Arizona made a big impact, and you can't deny the fact for a team like the Cardinals that haven't had a high-end tight end for the longest time now, Zach Ertz makes a big-time difference as a receiver, and to me is still one of the top ones in the NFL, which is why I have him at number 8. Number 7, this guy's just a star in his role and is very underrated, and that is Dalton Schultz in Dallas. I always feel like you talk about Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Amari's gone now, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. No one's ever talking about Schultz, but he's a very good blocker, a very good receiver, and just like Hunter Henry, I think he's still improving going into his 5th NFL season. Now, what does stink for the Cowboys is they're probably not going to be able to keep him because of how much money they have tied up to everything else in the roster. So, whatever team does get him after this upcoming year with the Cowboys, I think will be very happy getting a guy that maybe can climb into the top 6 in this list. The reason why it's not top 6 is because I have not Dalton Schultz, Dallas Goedert, mixing up names now, Dallas. Dallas Goedert's another guy who's very underrated, very good blocker. It's a big part of this, and also a very good receiver. Now, in Philadelphia, I don't know if he's necessarily going to get his shine playing with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Keep calling him Devontae. But I do think Dallas can still put up, if he can stay healthy, 750 yards plus, 6 or 7 touchdowns. To me, he's another guy that is very good in his role. Then we get into the top 5. It's the high-end list. We have a guy who's one of the best tight end prospects of all time coming out of Florida, and Kyle Pitts. Last year wasn't a big-time red zone target, but he was a player that had over 900 yards. And like the player I'm about to mention next, is just an absolute mismatch, no matter who you put on him. With this position, he really is just a giant wide receiver that's too big for safeties, too fast for most linebackers, and too big for most cornerbacks. And he's basically just like a supersized wide receiver in Kyle Pitts. I think for Atlanta to have him and Drake London together is one of the most exciting all-around weapon rooms in the NFL. Because Pitts, he is why. I mean, the dude is gonna be the best tight end in the NFL, I think, for a very long time, given how productive he was as a rookie. Number 4, we got Darren Waller. Had some injuries last year between his ankle and another injury that took him out for 4 games. But I mean, this is a player who had back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons. When it comes to being a mismatch, his route running for his size is very uncanny. And I think he's a player who just broke out into the scene as a hard knock star in 2019 and only added to that with basically after getting cut by the Ravens, becoming an all-pro tight end. This dude really is world-class. He's an awesome athlete. He's humble. I think he's come a long way. He's a player I root for all the time. I wish my Steelers could have him. I'm just glad he's not still in Baltimore, because if the Ravens had Mark Andrews and Darren Waller, that would be by far the best tight end duo I've ever seen. The first one that comes to mind is Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, but that would be even better. Andrews is not only a touchdown machine, but he is the biggest weapon in that Ravens offense to go along with that running game and play action, and he's a pain in the ass. He's an awesome tight end. He's a perfect fit for Baltimore, and quite frankly, you can make a case he's top 2 for the entire position. Now, I wrestled with 1 and 2 because I think the most complete tight end in the NFL gets knocked down a peck just because he isn't durable and consistent enough, which is why George Kittle will be in second place. Number 1, Travis Kelce. 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. You just can't make that stuff up. Whether it's with Alex Smith or Patrick Mahomes, he elevates the players around him. He basically is number 1 wide receiver at tight end. And while I don't think he's a better blocker than Kittle, he's not. Kittle's the best blocking tight end out of this bunch. Travis Kelce is a killer. So, to recap my top 10, I have TJ Hawkins at number 10, Hunter Henry at number 9, Zach Ertz at number 8, Dalton Schultz at number 7, Dallas Goedert at number 6, Kyle Pitts at number 5, Darren Waller at number 4, Mark Andrews at number 3, George Kittle at number 2, and Travis Kelce at number 1.
We have a few things that are a little different. I left honorable mention for my list at least was Zach Ertz. Just left him off the list. At number 10, like you, I love TJ Hawkinson. I think after this year, he'll probably jump into that top 7, top 6
Ooh,
area.
that's a high
Yeah,
bar.
I think he's a baller, man. I really think if they start feeding that guy the ball, he's an animal at the position. Number 9, underrated tight end to me is Mike Gesicki. I think that's a go-getter, man, running down the seams. That guy can make some plays, man. And he's fast, career high in receiving yards. Not looked at as much as the red zone target this past season, but he scored a couple, I think, over 5 in the season before. At number 8, I got Hunter Henry. And when you think of Hunter Henry, I think there's no better word to describe him but just consistency. You know what you're going to get from him every week. He's a good blocker. He'll make the catches when it's thrown to him, and he's a big-time red zone threat. Number 7, I got Dalton Schultz, man. That dude is a stud. 78 receptions, 808 yards, 8 touchdowns last season in an offense that had Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott. That guy was a force to be reckoned with in that offense. Number 6, I got your boy Kyle Pitts, man. Kyle Pitts he probably will be in the top 4 after the season is over. I feel like there's a lot left to be seen, and that's saying a lot coming off of a rookie season where he has 1,000 yards. Only 1 touchdown, but they'll start coming, and when they do, they'll be there in bunches.
Yeah, the Falcons have always struggled in the red zone. I think that's part of the reason why.
So I got Kyle Pitts at 6. At number 5, I'm a big fan of Dallas Goedert. Since he was a rookie in the league, I feel like Philadelphia misused them. They really should have been using Zach Ertz and Goddard like Gronk and Hernandez, but they didn't do that. But Goddard is a stud. 56 receptions, 830 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's just getting better and better. He's still young, and he's building that relationship with Jalen Hurts. I feel like this is a year where he may eclipse 1,000 yards. Number 4, I got Darren Waller. Now, this season he was hurt, but just to recap what he did the year before that, 107 catches, 1,196 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That dude is an absolute monster, and he's in contention to be. You can argue it. I'd say it talent-wise, he might be the most talented tight end in football. With him and Kyle Pitts, they're definitely the 2 most dynamic ones, I'd say. At number 3, I got George Kittle. Nobody's tougher than that guy. Nobody's tougher. I wanted to put him number 2, but honestly, the more and more I think about it as a fantasy football fan, I had to go with Mark Andrews at number 2. Coming off of a season, 107 catches, 1,361 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I'm telling you guys, if you're not jumping out of your seats to draft this guy in fantasy football this year, you're absolutely nuts. Don't let him fall. Do not, because I'll draft him. At number 1, I got Travis Kelce. Just like you said, John, 6 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. You know what you're getting from him year in and year out. One of the best route runners at the position. Doesn't get glorified for his blocking as much, but he is a decent blocker. But most of all, he's a weapon in every phase of the game. It's going to be different now. No Tyreek Hill there to, just drag everybody downfield. So I'm curious to see how this season is going to look for him with Tyreek Hill out.
Could you recap your list real quick?
Yeah, at number 10, I have TJ Hawkinson. Number 9, Mike Gesicki. Number 8, Hunter Henry. Number 7, Dalton Schultz. 6, Kyle Pitts. 5, Dallas Goedert. Number 4, Darren Waller. Number 3, George Kittle. Number 2, Mark Andrews. And number 1, Travis Kelce.
Okay. So for me, start from 10 and work my way down. Number 10, I look at it and I first want to say I looked at the tight ends, right? And when I first went into it, I thought, like the top 6 or 7 tight ends are going to be like this high end, and then it kind of falls off. But I was kind of wrong about that. It's more like there's 9 very good tight ends. They're the top end, and then kind of like 10 through 15 are kind of like, you know, the
Don't
best of
disrespect Pat Farmouth.
the rest. Yeah. All
He'll
right,
be in the
buddy.
top 7 and
Yeah.
within a year.
All right, buddy. Um, um. So
Keep
starting with,
disrespecting him.
I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just saying, all right, buddy. Um, at number 10, I'm gonna start off with Hunter Henry. Um, like John said, he played first time in his career. He played all every game. Uh, this year he had the ninth highest Pro Football Focus grade at tight end. He's a pretty damn good route runner. He's very good at fighting through contact. Um, he's been very consistent throughout his years, not injury wise, just numbers wise. He puts up pretty good numbers. Um, I expect a even better year this year, and him being utilized a lot more in the New England system. Number 9, I got Dallas Goddard. Um, I mean, this guy, I didn't know that much about him. I knew he was a very good receiving threat, but I didn't know that he has the highest run blocking grade since 2018. So this kid is really putting it all together. He's very good all around. So um, uh, the Philadelphia Eagles really were able to move from a Zach Ertz to a Dallas Goddard. Um, at number 8, I got TJ Hawkinson. I would love to put him higher because I think the talent is a top 5 talent. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. He's got the second lowest drop rate amongst qualifying tight ends in um in 2021. Sorry. Um, and yeah, I think like I said, it's just that the talent's there. He's got to play majority of his games, and he will easily enter the top 5 in my opinion. Um, at number 8, I got Dalton Schultz, who really had a breakout year last year in 2021. Um, I mean, this just for Pro Football Focus, his receiving grade in 2020 was a 63.8, and last year in 2021 it jumped up to a 77.4. So he's really starting to perform. Um, he's not going to blow you away, but I liken him to like a Jason Witten security blanket for a Dak Prescott, who Dak got to play with for the last couple of years of Witten's career. So I could see he's not going to ooh and ah you, but neither did Jason Witten, but Jason Witten got the job done. Number 6, I got Kyle Pitts. I mean, they again, like Hawkinson, the talent's there. The talent is top 5. The talent's top 3 actually. It's rare size, speed, nimble, strength, just everything. Everything is there for this kid, and I think in 2 years' time, so we're probably going to be having him as the best tight end in football. At number 5, probably a shocker to everybody, but he's been in the league a while. He had a couple down years towards the end of his time in Philadelphia, but really had a rebirth when he went to Arizona. I got Zach Ertz to number 5. I think he was starting to get forgotten in Philadelphia, so I think that also attributed to his decrease in production. Also injuries. Zach Ertz has dealt with injuries over his career. I mean, when he's on, he's one of the best receiving tight ends in football. So I got Zach Ertz at number 5. Number 4, I got not David Andrews, Mark Andrews for the Baltimore Ravens. This guy is a touchdown machine. I believe I've had him in almost like at least one of my fantasy football leagues, and he's always gonna produce for you. He's reliable. He's got the most 15 plus yard receptions among tight ends with 33. And also to just add on top of that, he was third among tight ends in run blocking last year, so he's not a one-trick pony. At number 3, I got Darren Waller for the Las Vegas Raiders. Uh, Obviously, last year was a down year. 2019 and 2020 were his big years. Last year, I mean, still, when you look at it, it was a down year, but he missed 6 games, and he was still able to put up 55 receptions, 665 yards, only 2 touchdowns. I mean, if this guy plays the full season, he's probably having a career year in terms of yards. I mean, probably 1,200 yards at least. And he for me, him and him and Kelsey, for me, rival each other as the best receiving tight end in football. At number 2, I've had these top 2 tight ends in the league for basically the last since Gronk fell off. These 2 guys have been the ipso facto top 2 tight ends in the league, in my opinion. Number 2, I got George Kittle. I think he's the best all around tight end. And I know that sounds weird. I have him at number 2, but I say he's the best all around tight end. But injuries too. If he wasn't as injured, I think he would easily be the best tight end in football. But injuries sideline him. Like John said, he's probably the best blocking tight end in football. I mean, this guy he does not shy away from contact at all. And this stat will show you that right there. His after the catch ability, unmatched. He leads all tight ends in since 2018 in receiving yards after contact with 1,171 yards. Broken tackles after the catch, 58, and yards after the catch per reception, a 7.7. This man's a freaking animal on the football field, and I would love to have him any day of the week as my tight end. And number 1, I got Travis Kelce. This guy's going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. Travis Kelce is for me the best receiving tight end in football. His blocking's all right. It's not like terrible, but it's all right. It's serviceable. It gets the job done. But it's the receiving threat that he is. It's elite when you look at the numbers. Just one stat on him. He's been on the receiving end of 274 first downs over the past 4 years. So I love Travis Kelce, man. The Chiefs fans are spoiled like us Patriots fans were for those many years with Gronkowski. I mean, having a tight end like that it changes the game you play because you can't put a linebacker on them. They're not fast enough. Can't put a safety on them. They're not big enough. There's not many corners out there that can match up to them either. So it's hard to game plan around them. And if you play zone coverage, guess what? He'll find the sweet spot and Mahomes will hit him in the middle of the field and probably break a couple tackles and score a touchdown. So, to recap, sorry. Recap from 10 to 1. Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz, Kyle Pitts, Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I learned the hard way about that with Gronkowski. I learned the hard way with Gronkowski about the matchup problems and how that presents issues for defenses.
I wasn't expecting the Zach Ertz in your top 5.
No.
Yeah, that really did throw a wrench in it.
I just think he had a really good rebirth in Arizona. I think
he played great in Arizona. Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, I think Philly was ready to move on from him, and they were just already in the direction of putting Dallas Goedert over him. So he just kind of got the short end of the stick there.
Yeah, they kind of phased him out. So I get what you mean, where it's kind of like a forgotten thing. Yeah. Like I didn't even have him in my top 10, and that wasn't. And I got to rethink that because I threw Mike Gesicki in there over him. But I just believe in what Gesicki's going to be doing over the next couple of years. I know Zach Ertz is getting up there.
Wasn't Zach Ertz was taken in the same year as Tyler Eifert, right? I think those are the two top tight end prospects that year. I think
Tyler Eifert was a stud that 1 year in
one
Cincinnati.
year, and then he fizzled out.
Mr. Touchdown?
Yeah.
Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, 13 TDs in 2015. Yeah, it was a Pro Bowl season for him. He kind of
Injuries
faded
just
into the background.
completely took him out.
Yeah, they were the same draft 2013.
Yeah. Damn.
Ertz was taken 14 picks after.
Yep.
Let's see. I think after the season, maybe Noah Fant might have something to say about that top 10 list.
Pat Fryermuth will, bud.
Oh yeah, my bad. I forgot
Come on.
about your boy.
Up
My
Noah
bad.
disrespected
Fant,
John's
Noah
boy.
Fant's not doing
My
anything.
bad.
Drew Lock.
I think Noah Fant's good, man.
Yeah, he's good, but I mean, he doesn't have the top end quarterback. It's the same situation as Denver. Nothing's gonna change. And there's more weapons now in Seattle. So,
Which might leave him open.
well, they're also gonna be playing from behind a lot. So, but they're not really gonna have much play action opportunities. I mean, you're throwing the football, get some volume. So, you guys ready to jump into some 2-minute drill?
Yeah, let's get into some 2-minute drill. You guys have anything for today?
Yeah, last week we didn't talk about the Deebo Samuel extension, and that's that's something that we should talk about because we did discuss the Deontay Johnson one. Do you want to do timing?
Yeah. Let's see if I could get you actually at exactly 2 minutes this time around.
All right. So Deebo Samuel got an extension for $41 million guaranteed, but it's a $71 million deal for 3 years, $23 million on average. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think Deebo's a top 10 receiver, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to give him this contract because with the ball in his hands, this is maybe the best receiver in football. After the catch, I mean, he is just unstoppable. But with the way they use him, I'm not entirely sure if he's going to stay healthy, truth be told. And when I look at George Kittle and then Deebo, two guys that look with wear and tear that haven't been the most durable, I do worry about the back end of that contract. Is Deebo actually going to be worth that $23 million a year? I think right now it's certainly worth it. My concern though is receiver, we're starting to see how many of them you can draft. We saw George Pickens, Christian Watson in this draft. You can get guys in the second round who have all-world ceilings. Now, Deebo's a much better scheme fit for San Francisco, and you can't deny that. And I think this year, much like last year, so long as he's on the field, he's going to be an immediate game changer and invaluable for Trey Lance as to get the ball to him and rack up some of those yards. But in the second half of this contract, I just don't see it being worth it. He's older for a prospect. He's already 26 years old. And like I said before, this dude's awesome. But at this stage, I don't know if it's worth paying receivers that aren't a Devontae Adams or a Justin Jefferson over $23 million. That's the way I view the position because I look at Deontay Johnson. The Steelers paid him $18 million. I don't know if Deontay's that much worse than Deebo, but more specifically, I don't know if I'd rather pay a guy at that when I can get much of that same production from a rookie making $3 million instead. Now, that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but that's why I see it. Was Deebo Samuel worth this? I think for this year in 2022, yes. But long term, I don't know if it's necessary always paying this receiver when you can trade him for something valuable. Done. 156.
156.
156, John. Good job.
That was on the money.
What do you guys think? What do you pay Deebo? $23 million. It's only $41 million guaranteed. So if he's injured, you're not going to be paying him that full.
I think he's worth it, man. I think what he brings to the field is so dynamic that he's more than just your average wide receiver.
Yeah, it's hard to the first name that comes to mind is Jimmy Graham. When Jimmy Graham's contract was up that 1 year, and he was looking to get not tight end money, he was looking to get receiving money, wide receiver money, because he looked at it and said, "Bro, I'm doing the same thing that the wide receivers are doing. Like, why am I not getting?" And Deebo's probably looking at it like, "Bro, I'm doing the receiving job and a running back job. Give me some freaking money, man." So I would imagine there's probably a lot of incentives in that contract, just like a lot of NFL contracts. So it's fine. I mean, he's probably got to play like you said. How much of it is guaranteed? 40,
Yeah,
41. Out of how much? 70 something is the overall
71.
contract? 70. So
years.
yeah, exactly. $30+ million. He's probably got to earn in incentives and whatnot. So yeah, they're protecting
Or
themselves.
73 and a half.
So yeah.
I don't think it's going to age poorly. And good on Deebo for getting that money. but I just have a much different viewpoint on the receiver position. I feel like, yeah, it's more valuable than a running back, but you can find so many great receivers. Like in this last year's draft, there are like 7 of them who could all stand out. They all had that opportunity. Look at 2020 with T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Chase Claypool in the second round. You can find talent at Brandon Ayuk. You can find it almost anywhere through the draft, whether it's day 1, day 2, and sometimes day 3 if you're good enough at drafting at that position. I just say to myself, I would much rather have a second year sophomore making 3 or 4 million that can give me 75% of that value a lot of the time.
Well, I mean, just look at it this way: in the history of the NFL, I think the last 20 plus years, if you look at it, a true number one, elite number one receiver, I think it's been the Rams this past year with Cooper Kupp. Then it's been, I think, pretty much a drought for the last 20 years. And the last one you'd have to go to is probably JRey. If you think about it, maybe Terrell Owens, maybe. Randy never won a Super Bowl. Larry Fitzgerald never won. You keep going down the list of all these elite, true number one receivers. They're not
That won a championship, you're saying?
Yeah, they're not. They're not a part of championship teams.
Yeah, well, it's a lot. We talked about this before. I think there's a lot that goes into it because there's 3 levels. Antonio Brown, I mean, Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, I mean, those guys are always worth paying. The full
Yeah, and AB
blank
only won
check.
his Super Bowl later in his career.
Yeah.
Calvin and Julio didn't win. Julio got there, but he wasn't able to. The team wasn't able to get it done.
Speaking of AB, did you guys see his quote?
I don't even want to freaking talk about AB.
Did you see the quote?
Yeah,
I
I
saw
saw
it.
Oh. How could you not laugh, man? Come on. It's ridiculous at this point. That's not my check it up topic. It's just you mentioned AB, and that's my first thought.
He set himself up for a brilliant wrestling career if ever wants something like that.
Oh yeah. And now he has this new dance that he does too.
Yeah, George Pickens hit one of them yesterday, I think.
Did he?
I don't really pay attention to the AB dances, what the lingo is with him nowadays, but yeah, he honored him, and Antonio Brown retweeted it. I love Antonio. I mean, he says some wild stuff. He does some wild stuff, and that was. Do you want to read this? I'm sure if you've been living underneath a rock, I might.
Do you have it? I can pull it up.
I'll pull it up.
Okay.
My biggest regret. My biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM, can I even say this, a cracker, or showing up to Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet, or throwing rocks at a UPS driver, and definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around the Jet Stadium mid-game while throwing up deuces. Sorry. My biggest regret is I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that. Like watching the Beatles. I'm stopping there. I'm stopping there.
I'm sorry, he is literally probably the stupidest person that has ever played football. I swear, I put that on my life. I'm so done with this guy. Just the last straw for me was the comments after he basically called out Tom Brady and said Tom Brady was favoring Gronkowski in that one game, and he was trying to stop AB from getting his money. Like, AB, really shut your freaking mouth, bro. This guy gave you a shot in the NFL again after you were done. And then you disrespect the owner and Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick on your way out, basically burning all the bridges there. This guy Tom Brady has to literally probably beg Bruce Arians to give you a shot. And then you come on, you play, Tom gets you your money. He gets you the incentives. Tom Brady will get you your money. Look at all the receivers that he's played with. He will get, if you're close to it at the end of the season, he'll get you your money. There's no problem with that. AB is a jackass. He's stupid. He needs to see somebody, talk, a psychiatrist, a therapist, somebody, because I still think that the root of the problem was that Vontaze Burfict helmet to helmet shot. Tell me I'm wrong, because all the problems started after that hit. So it's a mental problem, and this guy really needs help. But he's also saying, if you want to take his word for it, he says it wasn't the hit and he's not mentally ill. All right, if that's the case, then you're just a complete dumbass then. You're ignorant, you're arrogant, and you bit the hand that fed you in Tom Brady, gave you another shot, and then you basically shunned Tom Brady. And then you tried to roll it back a couple of months later on one of the podcasts, I Am Athlete or Pivot or whatever, and say, oh no, all love for Tom Brady. Tom Brady gave me my shot. Tom Brady let you stay in his home after you were alleged to have sexually assaulted a female. And he let you into his home with his kids and his wife. And you want to come at him? Bye, Felicia.
I don't mean to laugh. Well, I do. I'm not laughing at what you're saying about Antonio Brown. The way you're wording it was pretty straightforward. A lot of people talk about CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a doctor. I won't comment on that. But I do agree. I hope Antonio Brown, he seems to be in a state of distress. I hope he can resolve that in whatever fashion that may be for him, because he is all over the place, you know. So, love AB,
Yeah.
great player. I feel like he's always been an amazing story and a real I don't know. There's not really much more for me to add. You said it
Yeah,
all.
no, it's a real shame. I mean, when you look at it from a football perspective, if AB is on the field without all these headaches, he's probably a top 5 receiver of all time. Definitely was on that pace. And you throw it away, all these off the field actions. It's borderline. It's not even borderline. It's just plain out ridiculous. It's worse than stuff that we've seen from Josh Gordon constantly getting suspended. This Antonio Brown it's probably one of the more sad things that you see in the NFL because it's just so much talent and you throw it away just acting like a fool. Really. It's not injuries. Nobody's keeping him off the field but himself.
Just to remind people, if you weren't around, from 2013 to 2018, a 6-year span, he had 9,145 yards, 13 yards per reception, 67 TDs, and nearly 100 yards per game receiving. I think the combination of Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown is the greatest duo I may ever see between a quarterback and a wide receiver. The chemistry, the production, the only thing they didn't have was a Super Bowl because there was no stopping those two with the best running back playing next to them. And like you said, it is a real shame.
Well, I have a quick little 2-minute drill. I want to talk a little baseball, not just dominance, but I want to talk about deGrominance. Jacob deGrom, the New York Mets ace, the best pitcher in baseball, is finally back on the hill. In 2 starts, he's 2-0. The guy's absolutely dealing. In his first start, struck out 10. In his second start yesterday, struck out 12. I'm going to say it right here, and I'll say it right now, as much as it pains me to say as a Yankee fan. The Mets are my World Series favorite at this very moment. When you go into a series,
I thought the Yankees were the best team in New York. What happened
not
there?
anymore. Not anymore. When I said that, DeGrom was not on the field right now, and also Max Scherzer wasn't healthy. When you go into a postseason series, what carries you to a championship really is pitching. It comes down to pitching, and it comes down to timely hitting. Excuse me. And the Mets have all of that. When you walk into a series and you're starting game 1 with Jacob deGrom, and you're like, okay, let's just get through game 1 if you're the opposing team. You get through game 1, you lose, and then you get back to the field the next day and you see Max Scherzer standing on the bump. You're just like, how the hell am I going to get out of this? You go deGrom, you go Scherzer, you go Bassett, you go Cookie Carrasco, you go Taijuan Walker. You get to the end of the game, you probably got the best closer in baseball in Edwin Diaz to shut the door. Francisco Lindor driving in runs, Pete Alonso having a borderline MVP season, Jeff McNeil, an all-star second baseman, Starling Marte in center field, another all-star, not center field, in right field, he's an all-star. Brandon Nimmo, one of the more underrated players in baseball in center field, always finding a way to get on base. There is not a scrappier team in baseball than the New York Mets. And I used to be a believer in just, hey, Mets gonna Met. They're gonna find a way to let you down. They'll have that nice first half, and then second half of the season, they'll find a way to collapse. But this Mets team feels different. This Mets team reminds me of the last time I loved Mets baseball was back in '06 when I was watching David Wright, Jose Reyes, Carlos Beltran, Tom Glavine, all those guys on one squad, and they just had it going for them. This Mets team, if there's any team that's going to stand in their way, they're going to go toe to toe with the Dodgers in the NLCS, and the Mets are going to come out on top. If there's any time to see a Subway Series World Series, it's this year. But right now, as the season stands on August 14th, the Mets are the best team in baseball. And if I'm a team going into a postseason series against them, I'm shaking my boots, man. I'm nervous. The Amazons are back.
Those Mets teams in the past were insane for Wright, Reyes, and Beltran.
Oh my gosh, they were so good, man. And Carlos Delgado too. How could I not mention him? That's such a squad. But yeah, I really believe the Mets. I've been saying it for a while now. I think last year I had them as a potential World Series sleeper, and they completely let me down on that pick. But this year, everything just coming together. People are healthy. I guess another year for Lindor there in New York. It's really just paying off. Every move that they make.
They're paying Lindor that money.
Yeah, they're paying him a lot of money, but he's showing up. He's driving in runs. 81 RBIs to this point right now. Probably going to drive in over 100. Smack 25 plus home runs. Exactly what you want from your MVP shortstop. So I'm telling you, man.
Shout out to them. They have Sterling Marte too.
Sterling Marte's a beast.
A
So
little
that's
bit of
my thing.
resurgence for him.
It's everything that they've touched has turned to gold. They acquired Dan Vogelback. They've acquired Tyler Naquin. They've acquired Darren Ruff. All these guys have made instant impact since joining the team. That's they have this feeling, you know, when you watch a good team, you just have a feeling, wow, this team might win it all. When I was in '09, I'm a Yankee fan. That's the last time we won a World Series. They just had this feel. Just everything was going right for them. They had so many walk-off hits. Everything was coming together. The Mets have that feeling right now. Like I said, the Amazons are back. Look out for the Mets in October.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a quick little thing on UFC. There was a fight night last night. Not a lot of big names, just one. The main event was really just the draw. Marlon Chito Vera versus Dominic Cruz in the bantamweight division. Both got they're two top 10 fighters in the bantamweight division. Chito's ranked number 5. It was a 5-round fight. Ended in round 4. For me, Dominic Cruz was up at least like 3 rounds to 1 on or no, sorry, because it ended in the 4th round. 2 rounds to 1. I believe he went 1 round 1 and 2, and then Chito probably won round 3. I'm probably getting them mixed up, but just 2 to 1 basically. I had it going into the 4th. Chito was really fighting Dom's fight throughout the entire fight. And Dom was really just controlling the octagon. He was being the aggressor. He was being way more active. He took Chito down twice. He was working the head. He was working the body. He was working the legs. But just the thing that messed Cruz up is that he's just so hittable. And it shows Chito was able to score 3 knockdowns in that fight. And the last one shut Dominic Cruz's lights out with a head kick. He caught him dipping to his right, I believe, threw a left high kick, caught him square in the nose. I believe it broke Dom's nose. Was basically out cold, and the fight was stopped. So for Cheeto now, what's next? I don't think he's getting a title shot. We've got the Bantamweight Championship on the line in October in Abu Dhabi. TJ Dillashaw versus Aljamain Sterling. But there's another fight on that main card pay-per-view, which is going to open the night, which is Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Piotr Jan. Now, if you guys have ever heard of Sugar Sean, he's probably the rising star who's going to take that next step into superstardom when he wins the championship. He's a huge draw. His striking is crisp. It's beautiful. He's a personality. He's got charisma. He's got character. If he beats Piotr Jan, who's ranked #1 in the world right now and is the former bantamweight champion, he will be fighting early next year for the bantamweight championship just because of that star power that he has. It's just good business. So Cheeto's going to have to probably take another fight before he can get to the title. So, yeah, look out for my boy Sugar Sean O'Malley. You guys will be hearing that name a lot in the next years to come because he's going to be a massive star.
You might be hearing my name too because I'm actually going to start taking jiu-jitsu classes soon. So
it's too late, but you can't start now.
Right.
Too late.
You might see me on a UFC card in 2 years.
Don't do it, Justin. Just stick away, all right? Take the baseball. Take the baseball.
Damn. You would think I'd get some support from my fellow.
No, I don't want you to get hurt, Justin.
Oh, it's out of love. Okay.
I got faith in you,
get hurt.
I got faith in you, JRey.
Man, that was a good one. Episode 17 in the books, guys. Anything else y'all want to wrap up with?
Shout out Kenny Pickett, 7 to 8. You know the deal. Keeping it real.
Shout out my boy Baker Mayfield.
Kenny Clares.
I got no shout outs besides my men's league baseball team won the championship, and I'm holding on to this bad boy right now.
All we do is win, no matter what.
Oh, no, this thing's heavy. I think I might have just strained
something. You pulled something, Justin.
Strained my obliques just picking that up. But guys, that was episode 17. We love you guys. You guys know what to do. Give us a follow. Like us on all of our socials. Or follow us on our individual social media platforms also, man. We love you guys. Thank you guys. Stay classy.
Peace.